They say children forget things, but I didn't forget. That morning is still fresh in my mind. Mama thought I was asleep, but I wasn't. I watched everything in fear, too afraid to move, too scared to make a sound. I didn't understand it all back then, as a little boy. But I knew something was different. Something dark, something bitter, had birthed a demon in her. Mama looked tired, but strong too, like someone who had made up her mind. Now, as a grown man, let me tell you the story of Mama Nkem, my stepmother. They said Nkem was too quiet for a woman with so many children in her house. From morning till night, she was either sweeping the compound, washing plates, or cooking. She hardly spoke unless someone asked her a direct question. And even then, she would answer in a soft voice, like her words were afraid to come out. People called her Mama Everybody, because the children in her house weren't all hers. In fact, none of them were. Every year, her husband Ikenna brought home another child from another woman. First, it was Chidera, then Uchi, then Ngozi, and 3 more after that. Nkem didn't complain. She carried those babies, fed them, raised them like they were her own. The villagers used to praise her. That Nkem is a strong woman, they would say. God will reward her. But after some time, even that praise stopped. People got tired of talking, because Ikenna didn't change. He kept moving from woman to woman, and every time he returned with a new child, he would drop the baby on Nkem's lap like a market delivery, then walk away like he had done something noble. Nobody truly knew what Nkem felt, not even the children. She smiled when they hugged her, cooked their favorite meals, wiped their tears when they cried, but deep inside, her heart was like a calabash filled with boiling water. She never screamed, she never shouted, but something was changing inside her. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Ikenna came back with a newborn, wrapped in Ankara cloth. Nkem was pounding yam in the kitchen when she heard his voice in the compound. He didn't greet or say welcome, just a cough and a knock on the kitchen wall. "Nkem, come and carry this child before she falls from my hand," he said. She wiped her hands slowly and stepped outside. There he was, holding a tiny baby girl, barely a few weeks old. Her eyes were still puffy, her lips dry. Ikenna stood like he had done something meaningful, like bringing this child home was part of his duty. The mother dropped her for me, said she can't do it. "You'll take care of her now," he said, handing the baby over like it was nothing. Nkem didn't say a word. She held the child, turned around, and went back into the house. That evening, she didn't eat. She sat near the fire, rocking the baby. The other children were outside, playing and laughing like nothing happened. None of them asked where the baby came from. It had happened too many times already. Ikenna ate his food and went to bed. No thanks, no questions, just one loud belch and silence. Nkem stayed by the fire long after the children had gone to sleep. She looked into the flames, the baby breathing softly against her chest. She didn't cry, she didn't complain, but deep down, she knew. If she kept quiet, one day he would bring another one, and then another, until there was nothing left of her. 2 weeks passed. The baby girl had settled in, sleeping on Nkem's chest every night like she belonged there. Nkem, as usual, fed her, bathed her, and rocked her while humming softly. None of the children called her stepmother. To them, she was the only mother they knew. She was washing clothes at the back of the house when she overheard Ikenna talking to someone near the gate. She recognized the laugh, the same one he used whenever he was flirting. She didn't move, she just kept rinsing the clothes. her hands dipping in and out of the basin. After a while, she heard footsteps leaving. Then Ikenna came to the backyard, grinning like someone who had just won a bet. "Nkem," he said, "you didn't even come to greet my visitor." She didn't answer. "She's new in town," he continued. "Came from Oweri. She's staying with her aunt for now, but I might get her a small place around here." Nkem looked up and replied, "Okay," and that was it. A response of a tired woman. She turned back to the clothes without another word. Ikenna left the house dressed like he was going to a wedding. He sprayed perfume until it filled the whole compound. The children laughed as he walked out, some calling after him, "Daddy, bring biscuit." But Nkem didn't laugh. She didn't even bother to watch him leave because she knew exactly where he was going. Around midnight, he returned, tipsy, singing a song she didn't recognize. She waited until he entered the room, then walked out to the veranda and sat there until the sky began to lighten. Market day in Umuaka was always noisy, but that morning, Nkem walked through the stalls like a ghost. She had come to buy ogiri, palm oil, and tomatoes. The children needed soup. Life had to continue. As she bent over a basket of peppers, she heard her name. "Nkem." She turned to see Emma Rose, her neighbor, rushing toward her with wide eyes. "That girl your husband is carrying around. She was at the beer parlor last night. She told everyone she's the new wife. She said you're just the housemaid who takes care of the children." Nkem blinked. "What did you say?" Emma Rose hesitated. "I didn't want to tell you, but people were laughing. Even the seller at Mama Ife's shop said Ikenna has finally upgraded." Something inside Nkem paused. Not her heart, not her mind, just something. She thanked Emma Rose quietly, paid for her tomatoes, and walked home without rushing. She dropped her basket when she got there. She didn't cry. She cooked soup. She fed the children. She even smiled when little Ngozi spilled water on the mat. That evening, Ikenna returned with the girl. Her name was Amaka. She wore one of Nkem's wrappers around her chest, like she owned it. Her feet were freshly painted, her hands full of shopping bags. "Ikenna said I should stay a few days," Amaka said, smiling as she stepped inside. Nkem looked at the bags. She looked at Ikenna. Then she looked at her wrapper, tied around this girl's chest. She didn't say a word, but her silence was no longer soft. It had a sharp edge now, the kind that could cut something. Amaka didn't leave after a few days. She stayed, ate Nkem's food, slept on the bed Ikenna used to share with his wife, walked around the compound in short wrappers and loud laughter. The children didn't know how to behave around her. Some called her auntie. Others avoided her completely. One afternoon, Nkem was in the kitchen pounding yam when Amaka walked in, chewing gum and dragging a plastic chair noisily across the floor. "I hope you're adding enough oil to the soup," she said, peeking into the pot. "Ikenna doesn't like it dry." Nkem didn't reply. "I can cook, but I'm just letting you do your thing," Amaka added with a smirk, sitting down and crossing her legs. "Besides, you're already used to being in the kitchen. Mama do good." Still, Nkem said nothing. Her hands kept pounding the yam steadily. Gba, gba, gba. When dinner was ready, Nkem made sure to serve Ikenna and Amaka first. "This is yours," Nkem said quietly, placing the steaming hot plate before them. Pounded yam, bitter leaf soup, goat meat. Amaka grinned and picked up the spoon. Wife material. You try." Nkem nodded once and walked away. She served the children. Then she ate alone in the kitchen. But not long after, Amaka started coughing. "Ikenna," cried, "water, water." Ikenna jumped to his feet, rushed to her side and shouted, "What's wrong with this woman I married? Woman, will you get in here with her water? How can you serve us food with this little cup of water?" Nkem appeared at the doorway, wiping her hands calmly on a towel. "Sorry, let me get the water." Quickly, she grabbed a big jug of water and gave it to Amaka. Ikenna looked at Nkem. Her face was blank, calm, empty. "Better be careful next time." Nkem put the children to bed, cleared the plates, swept the floor, and sat outside as if nothing had happened. No one knew that something had started to crack open inside her. Months passed, and Amaka was still in the house, still laughing loud, still swinging her waist like she owned the compound. Nkem moved around like she always did, cooking, bathing the children, sweeping every corner. She never raised her voice, never raised her eyes, or quarreled. She no longer slept in the bedroom. Ikenna had given her space to Amaka, and without saying a word, Nkem laid her wrapper in the children's room. The children noticed, but no one asked questions. They just shifted and made space. Early one morning, as she washed clothes at the backyard, Nkem saw Ikenna come out with Amaka's underwear in his hand. He hung it on the line, whistling. Her hands froze in the water. She stared at him quietly, then continued scrubbing. Later that afternoon, she overheard Amaka's voice from the bedroom. "She's too quiet, Ikenna. Are you sure she's normal? What kind of woman says nothing after everything you've done to her?" "She's harmless," Ikenna replied. "Just forget her. No old cargo." That night, Nkem served them dinner again. Amaka smiled with oily lips. In her mind, she thought, "This woman is still cooking like a slave. Nothing gets to her. How long did she have to endure to be this way?" Amaka started to feel pity, worried and scared. Even though she loved Ikenna, she could not shake off the thoughts growing in her. After the meal, Nkem sat outside again, like she had done every night. This time she didn't sweep. She didn't fold clothes. She just sat and stared at nothing. Inside, laughter and footsteps echoed. The sound of her husband and his new woman in the room that used to be hers. A rat scurried past her foot. She didn't flinch. By midnight, she was still outside, eyes open, heart quiet. The next morning, she made breakfast, served everyone, then walked out of the compound with a small bag. "I'll be back," she said to the children. Nobody knew where she was going, but when she returned before sunset, her eyes were no longer soft. They were sharp, cold, focused, like something inside her had rearranged itself. When Nkem returned that evening, she didn't talk much. Amaka watched her from the veranda as she went straight to the kitchen. As usual, Amaka followed her, not to mock her this time, but to have a small chat. "Welcome, Nkem. You must be tired. If you need help, I can join you." Nkem didn't respond. She continued setting the firewood. "I'm very bored. Can I help you?" Amaka asked again. Nkem looked up and smiled lightly. "You can join me." Amaka looked at her for a long time, then said, "You don't get tired? Sometimes I look at you and wonder how you do it. This man you call husband, he talks to you anyhow, shouts, slaps table, cheats, brings women. You still cook, you still clean, and you take care of all his children without complaining." Just as Nkem was about to speak, Ikenna walked into the kitchen. He grabbed Nkem, and before anyone could react, he landed a slap on her right cheek, then the second one, and pushed her to the ground. "You, this useless woman! Why would you force my beautiful Amaka into the kitchen? Did I bring her for you to turn into a slave? Are you mad?" Amaka tried to speak up, but he shut her down. "Go inside," he shouted at her. Then he turned back to Nkem. "Old cargo, You want to make her be like you, Abby? I don't want to ever see this nonsense again. Amaka bit her lip. She didn't know what to say. She walked inside, crying. That night, she quietly snuck out of the room and met Nkem sitting outside. I'm so sorry for what happened today, she said, tears in her eyes. It's all my fault. I'm really sorry. Nkem looked at her and smiled. No, it's not your fault, my dear. That is my husband for you. Your husband? You still call that wicked man your husband? Amaka said, shaking her head. Nah, you are trying. But don't you think it's time to leave this man? I can help you. Let's leave together. Nkem shook her head. No, my dear, but I'll advise you to leave. This is my home. I've suffered too much to just walk away like that. If you love yourself, leave as soon as the sun rises. Amaka didn't understand why Nkem wouldn't leave, but to make up for everything, she agreed to pack her things and leave the next morning. By morning, Amaka had packed her small bag. She didn't wait for Ikenna to wake up. Quietly, she tiptoed out of the bedroom and went straight to the children's room where Nkem slept. Nkem, she whispered, I'm going now. Thank you for everything. I'll pray for you. Nkem sat up slowly and looked at her. Go quickly, she said. Don't let him see you. Amaka nodded, gave her a small hug, and slipped out of the house before the sun could fully rise. The moment Amaka left, something snapped inside Nkem. She sat on the floor of the children's room, looked at their innocent faces still sleeping, and whispered to herself, It's time. She remembered the insults, the beatings, the days she went hungry, the nights she cried alone, and how Ikenna still brought women into their home like she didn't exist. She stood up, tied her wrapper tightly, and went into the kitchen. She began cooking yam porridge, his favorite. But this time, she crushed sleeping tablets into it. As she stirred the pot, she muttered, Today you will beg for mercy, but you won't find any. By the time Ikenna woke up, she had already served the food. Your favorite, she said, forcing a small smile. He grumbled and started eating, not suspecting a thing. But by the fifth spoon, his hand began to tremble. He looked around the room, his vision blurring. Where is Amaka? He asked weakly. Then the spoon slipped from his fingers. His eyes rolled. He tried to speak, but his tongue felt heavy. That's when Nkem moved. She picked up a rope, tied his hands and legs, and waited. When he opened his eyes again, she was standing over him, holding a koboko. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She simply raised the whip and landed the first lash across his chest. He shouted. She whipped him again and again and again, until he no longer had the strength to beg or cry. Then, with calm hands, she picked up the knife and chopped off his manhood. By the time she was done, Ikenna could no longer call himself a man. She washed her hands, returned to the kitchen, and made pepper soup. When it was ready, she called the children. Come and eat, my darlings, she said. No more new children, no more strange aunties, no more shouting in this house. They ate quietly. Later, Nkem called the nearby hospital and reported that a strange woman had entered her home, attacked her husband, and escaped. Nobody doubted her. After all, everyone knew Ikenna, the man who brought women home like market baskets. And just like that, the story spread. But the truth stayed with Nkem. Days passed. Nkem sat in the quiet house, alone with the children. The neighbors brought food. Some offered prayers. Others brought silence, that respectful kind, heavy with thoughts they wouldn't say aloud. Nkem didn't cry. Her heart didn't race. She had gotten what she wanted, and for the first time in years, She tasted a kind of freedom she couldn't explain. She kept her story straight, calm, gentle. Her eyes always looked tired, but she never wavered. The hospital reported the case to the police. It was routine. A man brought in unconscious with wounds that deep couldn't be ignored. When the officers arrived, Nkem welcomed them. They interrogated everyone. No one was spared, not even the little kids. Then justice came for Ikenna. One of his sons, who had witnessed it all, told them, "I saw Mama beating Daddy with a koboko. Daddy was begging, but Mama said, 'No mercy for you, you heartless man. You don't deserve to live.' I saw her cutting something, and Daddy screaming, but she covered his mouth." The police were stunned. They had never imagined that the gentlewoman could carry such rage. They asked her, "Madam, so you killed your husband?" She answered calmly, "Yes." Then they asked, "Why did you do it?" "Because he is a useless dog. He only married me to torture me. Since he won't sleeping with anything that wears skirts, I chopped it off and made pepper soup with. It was big enough to go round." The officers stared at her in disbelief. "You fed your husband's—" one of them began, but he couldn't finish the sentence. Nkem nodded slowly. "Yes, and for the first time, my children ate in peace. No shouting, no yelling, just peace." They handcuffed her without another word. The children watched as their mother was taken away. Nkem didn't cry. She didn't beg. She only looked at them with soft eyes and said, "Be strong, be kind, and never let anyone teach you that silence is strength." The case made headlines, not just because a man died, but because of how it happened. Some called her a monster. Others called her a hero. But Nkem, she called herself free. Behind bars, she finally slept through the night. No footsteps, no threats, no fear. Outside, many called her a psychopath who couldn't leave her husband, even though tradition said a woman must stay unless he sends her away. They said if she left on her own, she might run mad. Nkem might never see the world beyond those prison walls again. But inside, she finally felt peace. I was the young boy who told the police, the boy who had lived his life with this trauma. And even now, as a grown man and a father, I still don't know how to fully process it all. I knew Nkem, my stepmother, was not evil, at least not to us, not to anyone else. She cared for us more than my father ever did, even though she wasn't our biological mother. And she wasn't angry with me for telling the truth, even in prison. Until the day she died, she made sure we lacked nothing. She didn't let us end up like her. I've carried this story my whole life, and it taught me one thing: to love my wife, to raise my children better than my father ever did. We forgave her, even though she never asked for forgiveness. But we can't erase what happened. This story teaches us something deep. Taking someone's life, the way she did, should never be justified, no matter what they've done to you. Maybe, if she had known God then, he would have helped her. So I ask you, what would you have done if you were Nkem? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating African tales that explore the complexities of human nature. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story. More twists and turns are coming your way.